Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Talent Show, where you will meet the people that power TTEC. I'm Rebecca, and I will be your host for today's show. We are so glad you're here. We know there's so many ways that you could be spending your time. So, whether you're coming back to join us for another episode or stopping by for the first time, we know today is going to be a very important conversation for your well-being journey. You may or may not know it. Well, first of all, that it is actually May already. And it is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And with that brings a Hall of Famer to the Talent Show to be our guest today to talk more with us about our well-being journeys. And there are a couple of themes going on this month. One is the National Alliance on Mental Health theme, which is Take the Moment. And then we also have Mental Health America, Where to Start. So we're going to be blending both of those kind of themes together for today's conversation. And our guest is going to help us live a better life through some of the insight that she's going to be sharing with us today. So first, before we get started though, we love the interaction in the chat. So please drop a little note. Let us know where you're joining us from in the world. We love to see our global audience, and we'll refer back to you throughout. So I'll just go ahead and give a shout out to hello, Marvin. Thank you so much for joining us today from the Philippines. We hope that this is a great show for you as well today. So please do let us know where you're tuning in from today as we start our conversation about some really important topics that Janelle has chosen today. We're going to explore how modern life impacts our well-being, some resources and ways that we can really influence our wellness, and learn how we can be better advocates all around for ourselves and for the others that we have in our lives. And we also have someone joining us from Egypt. I'm sorry, it just comes up as LinkedIn user for me on my chat, but hello, welcome. We're glad that you're here today as well. So we're here together to learn, act, and advocate. So let's bring on our guest today is Janelle. She is a Hall of Famer on the Talent Show. She has been here with us since the very first year and joined us every year. So Janelle, that is quite, you are definitely a TTEC Talent Show Hall of Famer. You're known for your very real and practical advice, and love that you and your team help us to know that it's okay to not be okay. So you are our senior benefits manager. Your team influences over 60,000 people's well-being. I don't know when you sleep, but welcome.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. So really excited to talk to you today, and pretty cool that I get to be a Hall of Famer now too. So no complaints.
Yes, you can add that to your LinkedIn
There you
profile.
go. Hall of
Talent
Famer.
Show Hall of Famer. Yes. Donna from Arizona, who I know is a big fan of all of your wellness programs, is here joining us today. So shout out to Donna for joining us as well. And yeah, so we've had you, like I said, a Hall of Famer. People may be familiar with your conversations with us. This may be the first time that they're meeting with you. As I said, your team influences so many people's mental health, and not just in that ripple effect of it's our mental health, the people around us that we're affecting, the customers that we have. It's just really huge the way that your team influences people. So, but let's step back for a second. How did you get into this space, and what's your role here at TTEC?
Yeah. So my dad really is the reason why I am in the world of wellness. So you may have heard me tell this story before, but both my brother and I were heavily involved with sports when we were younger. And even in the non-sport season, we were still required to stay fit. So I think for him, it was about teaching us discipline and work ethic and all of that good stuff. And probably to remind us that he is the boss, of course. But he would get us up with the sun and make us run a mile and a half, regardless. Didn't matter if it was winter, summer, didn't matter. We were getting up and running. And so needless to say, it stuck. Fitness stuck with me. And I followed this path to college where I majored in exercise and sports science. So I got my undergraduate and my master's in exercise science, but it was during my last year of my undergraduate studies that I was talking to one of my professors and essentially asking the question, what do I do with this degree? Like, do I want to be a fitness instructor? Do I want to be a personal trainer? What are my options? And so we talked about this thing called corporate wellness. And, it sounds like what it is. Long story short, I knew immediately that that's the path that I was going to follow, in that, getting paid to help employees to be healthy. Where do I sign up? And so, it was very, very simple decision there. And I interned at Apple. Yes, the Apple, our iPhones, all those good things. I did my internship with Apple and then actually worked there in their health and wellness program. And 25 years later, here I am, still helping employees to be healthy. So I'm actually one of the few who has been lucky to work in an industry that I studied, that I wanted to. So I consider that really an honor to be able to do that and be involved in folks' wellness journeys, that you allow me into your world in that regard. So I've been here at TTEC for almost 9 years, brought on to do wellness. And so we've gotten to do that with my team, and really great support from our greater global benefits team, and leadership. We get to do what we're good at. We get to do what we're passionate about. And that's really helping you, our employees, to achieve your wellness goals.
I love hearing your origin story, Janelle, and like you said, the discipline behind it, that it stuck, and that you've been able to create a beautiful, influential journey out of it in your own career. So personally, I'm so glad that you're here. I have worked with you as my own wellness navigator in the past, and love to share the stories of how the wellness programs here at TTEC impact people's lives. But you're in a really unique position given the corporate wellness background and just I know your passion for wellness, to be observing what's going on in mental health, like what the state of mental health is today since the pandemic. And so would you share with us some of your observations? Because I think that's going to help us kind of set the stage for the rest of the advice that will follow.
Sure thing. So, the pandemic was something that we all went through together. And so, in a sense, it brought us together. And I think it also brought to the forefront some very natural responses, right? Fear, uncertainty, anxiety, even anger at times. But like I said, I think that it also brought us together and forced us to get in tune with our emotions. I mean, we were spending a lot of time by ourselves. We were seeking connection just because we were stuck at home, essentially. And so we were craving that connection, and when that happens, you have to be in tune with your emotions, whether those are our own emotions, how we connect with others. And I think it also showed the importance of having a mental health toolkit, that solitude can do some really funny things. Not getting to engage directly with people can do some really funny things. And so it did really highlight the importance of mental health. We saw the impact of what isolation was doing. We saw the impact of what uncertainty was creating. And so it, in a sense, in a good way, I think, forced us to really look at our mental health and say, we got to talk openly about this. We need to express how we feel. We need to let others know when we need help. Hey, I'm lonely. I need a friend right now. So I think we still have a ways to go, but I do think that the narrative has changed. And I think that these conversations like we're having today will hopefully help others to know that it is okay to not always feel great. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to celebrate when life is good, when things are going great. It's really about being in tune with our emotions and feelings, because very likely others are feeling the same way. And as we talk further today, it's really about those interpersonal connections and discussing openly and allowing ourselves to ask for help when we might be struggling. So in a sense, I think that we're in a much better place than we were 4 or 5 years ago as it pertains to mental health. It is certainly at the front of not only, an individual's mindset, but organizations like TTEC. And, we were really ahead of the curve. I mean, we had a mental health program that we rolled out before the pandemic that we were really able to tap into when the pandemic hit. And so still a ways to go, but I think we're in a much better place than we were.
Yeah, thank you for that observation. I know you attend conferences, you are well researched. Obviously, what you do here at TTEC helps us to see that. And yeah, you're right that you don't realize how hard it is to be isolated until you're in that position as well. So thank you so much for sharing kind of the state of that. One of the things that you were talking about is and I love it. It's not all sunshine and rainbows talking about well-being. It's not, that every day is a happy day necessarily, but what are some of the things kind of playing off of the theme of like where do we start? What are some places that you think we can start on our wellness journey?
I think one of the you kind of switch gears on me, Rebecca here, but we'll go with it. I think that obviously we have a health and wellness program, and one of the things that we tout as part of that wellness program is that it is specific to TTEC. We do not have a plug and play health and wellness program. We've really taken the time to get to know our employees, to understand the needs and interests, and developing enough variety in our programs to engage all sorts of different people. And it is a global program, so we're very excited about that. So whether you are in the Philippines, if you're in Mexico, Canada, US, doesn't matter. You can participate in our wellness program. There are specific programs for mental health, and I shouldn't call them mental health programs because that's not technically what they are. They're more about building a positive mindset, building those resiliency skills, building those positivity skills. So like Rebecca said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's being able to learn how to emotionally regulate. It's learning to be able to appreciate the good things in our lives. It's willing to be able to look at self-reflection. What can I work on? What can I do for myself that positively impacts my life, but then also potentially positively impacts others? The fears are not gone, right? Stress is always going to be there. Anxiety is always going to be there. Uncertainty will always be there. But it's how you respond to that. And a lot of that comes from how we learn to emotionally regulate. And that's what some of our programs are designed to help you do. So programs like Mindset Reset. I love our program called My Empowered Selfie because it's about building self-confidence. It's about loving ourselves, liking ourselves. I mean, how can we be kind to other people? How can we impact other people positively if we don't like ourselves? And so it's challenging ourselves to look at the positives and also those things that we may need to work on a little bit. And so really, really great programs. I'll call out our That's Life program because it teaches you skills about, looking at yourself. How can I handle things positively? How can I handle things differently? How can I learn from my mistakes? How do I interact with others in a more positive way? So a variety of programs to choose from. I'm also a really big fan of, emotional IQ. So I did a presentation last year on empathy that really played into that. And the beauty that I love with emotional intelligence is that it can be taught. And so it's never too late to learn some of those skills to be able to help you interact better with yourself and with others, which of course positively impacts our mental health. If we don't get along with everybody, we're probably not very happy. Or if we don't get along with anybody, we're probably not very happy. But even learning how to interact with those that maybe we don't necessarily jive all that well with, it's going to impact your mental health. And so really good resources out there. Of course, our EAP, which is our employee assistance program. So for the globe, we've got workplace options. For the US and Philippines, we have CompPsych. And so I just encourage you to take a look at what's out there. What makes sense for you is what you're going to be able to tap into. But I think there's enough choice and enough variety for you to be able to do that.
I love that. I haven't seen the empowered selfie before yet, Janelle. So I'm definitely gonna watch this back afterwards and take note of these great programs. And I think the empathy element kind of leads itself into another question for you, that you had been sharing in our meet and greet about the importance of kindness. Can you share a little bit more about your observations and what we can do to kind of have more of a practice of kindness in our life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think another really positive thing that has come out of the mental health conversation is self care. We're hearing a lot about self care, which is great. But speaking of kindness, that's obviously more, it does impact us because we do want to be kind to ourselves. But I want to approach it in the sense of how it impacts our self care. Um, and really how it impacts interacting with others, because how we interact with others in our interpersonal relationships play a huge part in our overall mental health and well-being. So kindness to me is a really simple concept, and it may not seem like it at times, but a little goes a really long way. And I saw a great quote the other day that kindness is the heart and soul of humanity. And I'm going to repeat it because it's such a great quote. Kindness is the heart and soul of humanity. So we as a business talk about humanity all the time. You can't have humanity without kindness. It really is what makes humanity. So it's a very simple quote, but in my opinion, very powerful. And so, when we think about kindness, it does build positivity. It does build happiness, and it impacts our well-being. So when I talk about kindness, I'm not talking about always having to be nice or never saying no or sacrificing our own needs, for the sake of the others. Self-care is very important about learning what your boundaries are, sharing those boundaries, and then effectively sticking to those boundaries. So this is more in the sense of simple acts of kindness. And so it's a great opportunity to ask yourself, when I ask somebody how they're doing, do I really mean it? And maybe changing that question, how are you doing? What's great about today? Or, I used to have a friend that would always say, what's good, Janelle? What's good today? And I like that because it made me open up and think a little bit more outside of the typical niceties that we use. How are you? How was your day? That sort of thing, sort of thing. I think, do you smile when you're passing somebody on the street? I can't tell you how many times I'm walking along and I'm hoping somebody will look up at me so that I can smile, because that little act of kindness of just saying hi or smiling can be the difference for somebody else. Do you openly compliment, or maybe even better, do you compliment when somebody least expects it? That's such a simple, easy thing to do. Or even just say thank you or I appreciate you message. I have a colleague the other day that I was chatting with on Teams, and I was really appreciative of the work that she's done to sort of organize all of our files and everything. And I said, hey, I know that work is the work that you're doing, and I do appreciate it. And she said, you know what? Thank you for saying that. I started out with a really crappy morning, and that just changed my mindset. That just changed my perspective. So something, again, very simple, feels good for somebody else, but it's also really self-gratifying. I mean, I think it feels good to know that you made somebody else feel good. Dora brought up a great example about, paying it forward. Maybe you're in line buying a cup of coffee or whatever. Why not pay for the person next to you? Or just do something simple, something kind. Maybe walk across the street and say, hey, I noticed you walk your dog a lot. Happy to step in and take your dog on a walk for you if you need a little time. Not the best example, but it's an example, right, that can go a long way. So I think, again, your kindness can make a difference for somebody who might be really struggling. Might be the difference if they're contemplating suicide or something along those lines. It might just be that one person, that one positive comment that makes them change their mind, that makes them seek help, that makes them ask for it. And I think just being kind just makes the world a better place. It's not hard to do. You can do it for free. And again, like I said, I think it not only helps others' mental well-being, but it helps ourselves as well.
So many great examples in that, Janelle. I mean, just like you said, even just switching up the nicety of starting a conversation, or using our etiquette of please and thank you, all of that goes a long way to paying it forward, and helping brighten somebody else's day, and how that kind of fuels our own journey and then the journey of other people. So like I said at the top of the show, you drop some insightful, simple, actionable advice that all of us can do. And I love how you said it. It's free. This is free. This is something that we just have to be intentional with how we approach our conversations with people. And I just want to go over to the chat. Janelle, Tara, welcome, Tara, has shared that the emotional intelligence course TTEC offered was great and very beneficial for my personal and work life. So shout out for that course as well. And then just real quick before we go to the audience for a question, you mentioned self-regulation. We're in a world, Janelle, of react. I get a text, I can react. I get an email, I can react. I get, Instagram, everyone's reacting, whatever it may be. And this has been a long time. This is not just the past few years, probably since the advent of maybe even the fax, who knows, if people remember what a fax is. But what is like one quick tip on how we can maybe react less to something that we might regret later, that, gosh, I pushed that button a little too soon?
Oh, I could go on all day about this one, but I have a great example. It's not mine. It's actually a friend's. But the two things I'm going to call out first are taking a deep breath and stepping away and giving yourself the distance so that you can respond and not react. Huge difference between responding to something and reacting to something, and learning that skill is not easy, right? Because we're emotional beings. We want to react. We want to, immediately reply. But it's incredibly important to take that step back. And if that means walking away from your computer or away from the conversation, to give yourself that time to look a little deeper, you're going to want to do that. I mean, they're great strategies because they're effective. They work. We're just terrible at using them sometimes. And so I think that the better you become at doing that, the better off you're going to be. But the example that I'm going to use is that we don't ever know what's going on in somebody else's life. And so it's always just good practice to assume positive intent, to always come from a place of positivity and good intentions versus reaction. Even if how they're approaching it maybe doesn't work super well for you, you can change that whole narrative and probably the entire conversation with how you respond to it. So always assume the positive intent. But the example I'm going to use is that when you react or when you say something unkind, you make somebody feel not so good. You can always take the comment back, but not necessarily the way you made somebody feel. And so my friend likened it to an unkind comment to taking a nail and hammering it into a piece of wood. So the nail into the wood is the not so kind comment or reaction or flying off the handle or whatever. You can take that comment back. You can remove the nail, but guess what? The hole's still there. The hole is still there in the wood. The comment and the way that you made them feel is still there. And so, I try to think of that every time I want to react to an email. And I say, you know what? No, I need to be aware of how this is going to make the person on the other side feel. So again, I can take a mean comment back, change the narrative a little bit, but it's still there. And so it's best, in my opinion, to avoid it altogether. So a good practice to teach yourself to respond versus to react. Your emotions are you generally react to your emotions in a moment, but you don't need to let them dictate your behavior. So take that time to recognize your emotion, sit on it, breathe, meditate for a few minutes, whatever you need to do, go run around the block, do whatever you need to do, and then come back and respond in kind.
I knew you'd get that exercise in there, Janelle. Go run around the block.
Exercise is a great thing for stress.
Even when you just said breathe, I took a deep breath too, like, I'm not in a reactionary moment, but just that reminder to take a breath is really important. And it kind of circles back to what you were sharing about the person helping you on your team, that she had a crappy day, and you just reaching out and saying like, thanks for this, made a difference in her day, which is great. So I'm going to kick it over to the audience for a question. Again, along the lines of the theme of take the moment to prioritize your mental health, what are some of the ways that you are taking moments to prioritize your mental health? We really want to hear from you, because as Janelle is sharing advice, I know you've got great advice that could help us all as well. Just want to give a shout out to Robert, who is joining us from the Philippines, a TTEC employee at Pampanga. So great to have you. I know it's the middle of the night, so we're glad that you're joining us as well. So thank you for that. So Janelle, while people are sharing in the chat what how they're taking moments to prioritize their own mental health, um, what is a way that you think we can prioritize it without guilt and shame?
Mm.
That is like the big piece of this take the moment theme, is it's not just take the moment for our self-care, but it's without the guilt and shame that might come along with it.
I will always say this: it's your life to do with what you want to do with it, and you are the only person you will always know your whole life. And I know that sounds funny, but it's true. And so why should you not be the priority? You know, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. You give 8, 10, 12 hours of those to work, 6 to 10 to sleep, the remaining hours to family and friends. But somewhere in those 24 hours is time to dedicate to you. And I always say that self-care is not selfish. Taking care of yourself is selfless, because it not only helps you, but it helps how you interact with others. And so it's a necessity. To me, it's not it it should be a given. It's a non-negotiable. Building those mental health skills for yourself, looking at yourself, introspecting, self-reflecting, being alone, quieting your mind. I always say to my kids, focus on what is, what's in front of you, and not what ifs. We spend far too much time worrying about the what ifs. Focus on what is, and then you can build a plan of action from there. I think appreciating the season you're in and leaning into it. We all go through seasons in our life where we might be struggling. Life may be going great. Lean into it and know that it will change at some point. That's why it's a season. Seasons change. And so I think it's really just about remembering that you are number one. That's not selfish, it's selfless. And so I think that being able to do that, you should never feel guilty about wanting to take care of yourself, because it helps you, it helps others in your life. And to me, like I said, it just lends itself to so many positive things, and it is your life to do as you wish with.
I love it, Janelle. And I think you might have answered. Hench is joining us from the Philippines. He had any tips or advice when you feel stressed in your life without affecting your work? I think a couple of those things that you just shared may lend itself to that. Donna shared meditation and taking a daily walk is a priority for me. And I absolutely agree, Donna. If I don't have a walk in my day, it's a hard day for me the next day as well. And then Robert, thank you for joining us, sharing that it's a great session. And Janelle, we really value your time here today with us. I can't believe we're nearing the end of our time. One last question, because it might be one of the most simple things that you've said today, and yet one of the most challenging things for all of us, and that is around asking for help. So could you talk a little bit more about the importance of it? And if we're stuck and we just don't even know how to get started asking for help, what are some of the ways that you can help us get unstuck?
Yeah, so somewhere along the way, we society taught us that it's a weakness to ask for help. The reality is that we'll never get through life if we don't ask for help at various points in our lives. I personally had a very difficult year. I'm about 12 months removed from it, but I knew that if I didn't ask for help, if I didn't seek for help, there was no way that I was going to get through it. I'm pretty self-sufficient, pretty strong. I'm very strong person, but it doesn't matter how strong you are. You still need help. You still need support from other people. You still need to tap into the resources that you have available to you to find those tools, to build those skills, to be able to self-reflect. I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to asking for help, is recognizing I'm struggling right now. Hey, I could use your help. Or I'm struggling. Even starting there with I know and feel that I'm struggling, and then just saying, okay, time to ask for help. You have a support system, and we also have wellness programs that help build that support system. So that might be somewhere to start. But I think that really just being okay with asking for help, showing others when they're asking you for help that it's okay. There is no judgment. The more that we can give ourselves to others to help when needed, when it comes time for us to need help, you've already demonstrated that for others. And so it will be a little bit easier for you to say, yep, I need help, time to get it.
I think that's so great, and you're right. And in my experience, it has been hard at times to ask for help, but the people are totally open to helping too.
Yes.
They jump right in, and also, like you said, if you're with TTEC, you can turn to our wellness programs, and whatever company that you may be in, I'm sure they have some great resources for you to turn to as well. So thank you for that advice of just saying, like, I am struggling. I think that is a great place and starting point. Janelle, just before we go, I just also want to say that again, I can't see the name, but it says LinkedIn user organizing my priorities, but what is urgent and important. Then comes what is urgent but not important. Oh, I love this. This is Stephen Covey, I believe. Third, what is important but not urgent. And eventually comes what is neither urgent nor important. And I think that is definitely a great reminder in our work life and in our personal life. And hence, I really hope what Janelle was just sharing about reaching out and asking for support in that things that may be affecting your work life or your personal life. I hope that advice has helped you as well. So Janelle, we could talk for hours. I could talk to you about the importance of a walk, the simplicity of that, the importance of asking for help. We could go on probably for another hour about that too. And we also have Nabil from TTEC Egypt. Hello there. Nice to see you. So thank you so much for all of your advice, reminding us that really this is our life and we're our own bestie. And so we need to put on our oxygen mask so that we can be great for others around us. And I'm sure throughout the rest of the month here at TTEC, we'll see more of what you and your great team have in store for us. But thanks for kicking off Mental Health Awareness Month with us. Once again, Hall of Famer Janelle.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, Janelle, we'll see you later. And Thank you so much to everyone who's joining us in the chat. Please continue to drop in the chat and we'll answer your questions along the way too. But first, if you like what you've heard so far about how TTEC supports our team's wellness, do come and check out ttechjobs.com. We are hiring around the globe. Our first stop today is Mexico and Republica. We did want to share that we're hiring for a bilingual customer service representative in English and in Spanish. And there is some great opportunity here for you to grow with our company in Republica, Mexico. And our team will be dropping in the chat how you can learn more about this role and the many others that are available around the world. And also, I saw some people tuning in from the Philippines. We do also have on our talent attraction marketing team as well, we have a senior sourcing specialist where you will be working in Cebu. This is a great opportunity to attract talent to come join our team in Cebu, Philippines. And so we'll also have that in the chat for you as well. I want to thank Janelle for helping to spark conversation around really important things that affect us every single day, from kindness to self-regulation on how we maybe take that walk before we react to things. And I want to thank you and everyone who participated in our comments here today. We are here for you, and so we appreciate you joining us. This conversation, as Janelle was alluding to earlier, reminds me of a Maya Angelou quote, which is, people won't remember what you said. They might not remember how you said it, but they will remember how you made them feel. So, as we like to end the show most of the time, which is, here's to each of us being 10% kinder. If you liked the show today, please share. Sharing is caring. Spread the kindness. Have a great rest of your week, and welcome to May.